let's talk about places that will pay you to move there. Let's have some fun
That's a
with
fun
this,
one. Yes,
because
sir.
I'm interested in getting paid. And
I
now,
want to go
whether
politic,
it,
bro.
You guys
yeah,
want to be neighbors? You guys,
yeah, let's be neighbors. So the number one place on this article here, there was 10 cities that will actually pay you to move there, and then the first one is Texarkana, Texas, which is a border town between Texas and Arkansas. You have, I don't know how to pronounce that, Paducah, Kentucky. Then you have
Paducah
Jackson,
sounds
Michigan.
It's probably just as nice as
Alabama
it
is,
sounds.
I think it's the cities in Shoals, Alabama region. So it sounds like maybe a county. Then you have Tulsa, Oklahoma. You have some communities in West Virginia. I like how West Virginia is like, please just come here, come anywhere. Um, Bemidji, Minnesota. I'm butchering that for sure. Topeka,
It's in the Ozarks.
Kansas.
By the way, they
Oh yeah,
put these nice pictures of these places,
right,
and I don't know if they
right.
really look like this, but no offense to anyone that lives there, please
Newton,
confirm.
We
Newton,
can confirm in the
Iowa.
comments.
And then you have Baltimore, Maryland. So this article sparked me to like, I went and looked up, I went and just searched, and I wanted to find 10 places, 10 US cities, and what they offer financially as incentives. So from what I found, Tulsa, Oklahoma has a Tulsa remote program, incentivized $10,000 for remote workers plus co-working. So plus co-working space access and networking opportunities. Topeka, Kansas has a Choose Topeka incentive of up to $15,000 if you buy a home and $10,000 if you rent. Northwest Arkansas has a Life Works Here, which is a $10,000 incentive, and a bike for remote workers in tech and creative fields. Savannah, Georgia offers a Savannah Technology Workforce Incentive, which is a $2,000 incentive for tech workers moving to the city. And so this is like the second one I think that mentioned tech. Newton, Iowa says $10,000 towards the purchase of a new home. Hamilton, Ohio has a talent attraction program scholarship up to $10,000 for recent graduates willing to relocate and work in the city. Bentonville, Arkansas has a Bentonville remote work program, $10,000 as well for remote workers willing to move to the city. And then you have Lincoln, you have Kansas on here twice. They have one that's for free land to build homes on if you agree to live there, which is kind of cool. And then they have a Mankato one, which is Rural Opportunity Zone, up to $15,000 in student loan repayment assistance for new residents. And the last one was St. Clair County, Michigan, Come Home Award, up to $15,000 in student loan assistance to attract recent graduates. So quite a few places actually that have some pretty cool incentives trying to get people to come there. There's a theme I've seen tech mentioned several times, because tech is kind of the future, right? You got AI, you got Chat GPT, which I love to use every day. And you have all these different things that are just going on around tech. That's one of the biggest things that's happening here in Texas. We didn't mention this today on the podcast, but one of the things that's going on right now that's going to heavily affect Texas homeowners and home buyers is the fact that Governor Abbott just announced yesterday the Texas Stock Exchange. And that's because you have a lot of people tired of the NASDAQ and tired of the New York Stock Exchange and having to have these diversity boards in place in order to be able to be a capital market. And so they're like, hey, a lot of these guys are like deuces. And I think I saw something somewhere in the ballpark of 150 million in terms of backing that is going to come into the Texas Stock Exchange. You got Elon, who's just pro Texas. He's moving all three of his companies here now. You got Tesla. That is in Austin. You have SpaceX that's down in Brownsville, which is down on the border. And then you have X, which he said he's moving to Barton, which is just outside of Austin as well. So you have a lot of oracles here. I mean, more and more companies. I saw an article as well that said if Texas was a country, it'd be the seventh largest economy in the world if it was a country. So I'm not saying I'm not trying to talk you guys into coming to Texas, Alex and Nathan, but just letting you guys know.
Yeah, we'll say this about Texas. When you go to Texas, they fly the American flag, the United States flag, but a lot of people fly the Texas flag. Like, I've never seen that in any other state. In California, no one's flying the California flag, maybe at a school or a government building. But in Texas, they definitely have that Texas flag on that truck, or on a truck, and it's on the back, or they have it on a pole and they're driving. It definitely is the country of Texas. It's interesting with some of these places with they're paying people to move there. I'm really curious to like checking the demographic, as in like crime rates, stuff like that, and like where where everything's at, where they're incentivizing people to move here. So, or to move to those certain places. So I'm really curious to find out why they're incentivizing people move there. Are a lot of people leaving there and they're trying to get people to come back, or what is it? I mean, I didn't read the article at all, so I don't know.
I
Yeah.
inferred that it's growth oriented, right? So a lot of
Mm,
these places are trying to grow and attract people because we mentioned it before. There's been a great reshuffle in the United States where people are migrating from certain states that are higher earning states. California is most notable. We're here. I think that we're a little more maybe biased when it comes to the migration out of California. I help a lot of families migrate across the country. Some of the hot spots are Texas, Tennessee, Florida, Colorado, Utah. Those are places I'm starting to see Idaho pick up a lot of steam. But I think a lot of these areas that are trying to attract new residents, it's growth oriented. And I also think they're trying to attract businesses. I think Tulsa on that list of the property, the places that you mentioned that are offering this incentive, Oklahoma is actually the most interesting. And the reason is that they're working really, really hard. I know Oklahoma City had an incentive for a little while. I think it expired last year, but they're working really, really hard to try to attract big tech companies and have people reside there. So uh, some of the things that people look at when they're moving is employment, taxes, culture, transportation, climate, education, healthcare. Obviously, understanding the housing market. You mentioned crime rates. That's another thing people are looking at. Food options, city size, healthcare facilities, proximity to the airport, right? The cost of moving, right, or relocating. The last one on the list is proximity to friends and family. And I think that, COVID, it's interesting, man. I've had a conversation with somebody yesterday. I've noticed that the dynamic with relationships has really shifted since COVID.
Mhm.
I think we were all forced to be somewhat recluse, whether people adhered or did not, what have you. We were forced to be somewhat segregated and independent. And I think a lot of families learned that, hey, I don't need to be around my family every weekend. It's sometimes more headache than it's worth, or hey, I don't want to do this. So I think people are less married to the idea of being close to friends and family and understand that they can pick up and move. And travel is it's not super expensive. It's gone up a little bit with the cost of living and everything else, but it's not impossible to move somewhere else and still have a close relationship with your friends and family via phone and Zoom and all these other things. So all that to say, I think that it's growth oriented, but I also think that uh, families are becoming more comfortable with the idea of working remote and trying a new place.
Yep. I completely agree.
yeah, interesting time that we're in, that people don't value family as much. It's interesting. I mean, they're communicating. Let's say, like for example, this is a perfect example how we're on a pod and we're in separate locations completely, and this is good for what we do. But when it comes to family, you and I, Nathan, and I, we were talking about this for about an hour. How we've gone. It's not just in our industry, but just people have put family on just lower on the rankings of what's important. And for me, I want to be close to my family or whatever. My family, my parents, they live not too far from me, a few miles away. My wife's mom, dad lives in Texas. Mom lives in Los Angeles, not very far, relatively not. I mean, it's LA. It could be 2 hour, 2.5 hours, or it can be a 40-minute drive. We never know. But I think for me and my family, we put family a lot higher than anything else. We want to be close to family. My wife does have family in Texas, El Paso, Texas, and Texas has been in the conversation of us moving there in the past. But then the number one thing that's holding us back is family. We put family up here. I put family up here over money, over anything else. And that's just interesting because I think a lot of this younger generation, they're putting family, I think, lower. And what you said with COVID, I mean, maybe not everybody. I know because I saw you kind of you're maybe you kind of
Yeah.
disagree, but that's how I think. That's why everyone is going to be different. But I put family higher than anything else. So that's gonna make me not want to move so far. I mean, I guess proximity to the airport's really important, but then also I'd like to be able to, hey, you know what? I can just go see my family just real quick.
I think that ideals are shifting as a nation. And I don't want to get super, this is a whole discussion all on its own, but I think ideals are shifting. And I think that, for me, the focus is faith first, family second, then fitness, right? Then my finances. And I believe that if you get the first three right, finances kind of come, you know, and family is really an area of relationships, right? And I don't know, man. This is a podcast that's discussing, real estate and implications to consumers and things like that. But a whole nother layer to this is that, why do we do this? Why is it that we want to advocate for families? And you could probably hear me say it all the time. I'm in the business of serving families because I genuinely believe that we serve families. And I believe the fiber of our nation starts with serving families. It starts with the family. If we can make sure that families have a home, right? There's a lot of stability associated with home. And for those that don't know, a short thing about me is like, I moved a lot growing up. We didn't have a home base for a long time, and that's a big reason why I value the home base and helping families have a home foundationally, because I know what it does for the stability of a family and their kids and the relationship with the mom and dad and all these various things. I'm very pro family in that regard, and I think that these cities. It's interesting. A lot of these cities are down south, and family is something that is very high on the ratings or rankings for priorities with a lot of southern states. It's a
100%.
cultural thing. So all this to say, I
They
don't want to
also
go on a
call it the
tangent
Bible
there.
Belt down here too. So
Yeah.
they call it
Amen,
they call
bro.
it the
I don't
Bible
know.
Belt
I
down
just
here
work
too.
here.
So
I just work
so
And I
here
think that's
with
you're
faith,
right.
family, right? I'm just saying. I'm saying without saying.
I think you're right with the cultural. It's really important. I mean, that's one thing in my culture. Family is really important. It's like it's at the very top for everything. Of course, you have faith, family. I mean, that's how it always is in my culture. Mexican culture, if you miss church, oh man, you're gonna hear it all week. You're gonna hear it all week until you go. That's just how I always grew up. But then family is always at the very top, no matter what. So I think it's a big cultural thing. But yeah, you're right. Those I didn't think about. Those are a lot of them are southern states. So that's a big deal.
with
Yeah, get in where you fit in. Go get the money. If it's free money, I
Yeah.
mean, make sure you're analyzing all those various things. And here's the big kicker, right? And to bring it back full circle to the real take dialogue, you're going to want to do a financial transition plan and analysis based on all the different criteria that I just mentioned a minute ago. You want to make sure that you're working with somebody that has access to that data. So even if they're offering you a set dollar amount for incentive, and even if maybe you cross-reference that list with the other list that we just saw a little while ago, where there's price reductions and more incentive, maybe there's a massive opportunity. You can cross-reference those two lists and find an opportunity for your family that could give you more affordability and all these various things. But you want to analyze these other things as well, because Baltimore, Maryland, has a pretty high crime rate. And I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. Let's go, Lamar.